Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Today it is disgustingly hot, humid, which you can probably tell by looking at my face because I'm all wet. And I thought, what not a better day to talk about weather conditions for drying hay. It is a very important topic. Some of you are probably well versed in it. Others of you might be a little newer and this might be of some use to you. So let's get started. There are four main conditions that are really important to drying hay, at least in my opinion, from my experience. They're going to be humidity, the amount of sunshine, temperature, and the amount of wind. Remember those four. Now, let's rank them in order of importance, again, according to my opinion and experience. The number one most important thing you need when you're drying hay is sunshine. I've found that hot days with no sunshine, windy days with no sun, really any kind of day, if there's no sunshine, the hay just does not dry as well. On the other hand, if there is a lot of sunshine, even if it's a relatively cold or cool day, down in the 60s or even 50s, that solar radiation is really effective at curing out the hay. Number two most important thing, in my view, would be the humidity. Now, you can get hay to dry if there's sunshine and no wind, or if there's sunshine and cool temperatures. But if you get humidity and sunshine, it's going to be a bad day for drying hay. Now, the figure I've heard is that hay drying drops off precipitously, no pun intended, once the humidity gets to about 60%. So when I'm thinking about when I want to mow hay, I look at the weather forecast and there's a couple things I look at. I look at the amount of sunshine I'm going to get. I'm going to look at the wind, but I'm also really looking at the humidity because that's going to tell me how fast the hay is going to dry. 60 or 70%, very low drying. You might be lucky if you actually get the hay to dry at all. Obviously it's going to dry a little bit, but it's going to be extremely slow. And I'm impatient. I don't have a lot of time for my hay to be down. I like to mow on day one, bale on day three for first cut, and second and third cut. I like to mow on day one, bale on day two. So I like to get that hay down and get it back up again real fast. So number two would be humidity, making sure the humidity is not too high. Obviously, some of you poor folk, especially in the south, southeast and parts of the Midwest, it gets stinking humid. I'm originally from Iowa. I know how bad it is. Number three most important thing would be the wind. You get a sunny day, can be cool temperatures, and hopefully low humidity. You get a sunny day and wind, it will suck that hay dry in no time. So again, the figure I've heard there is the wind speeds need to be higher than 6 to 8 miles an hour, and you'll get good drying. Anything below that, the drying drops off quite a bit. Again, just something I've heard. I haven't seen any actual scientific data to support that one way or the other. So it's amazing what a little wind can do. And in fact, when I am raking and I see the wind blowing away my windrows, while that is annoying, it's also reassuring at the same time because I know those windrows aren't going to have any wet clumps in there that are going to spoil some bales. Finally, number four on my list is the temperature. And why do I put the temperature at the very bottom? Well, because a hot day without sunshine and no wind doesn't really dry the hay out that much, especially if you have humidity. Now, temperatures also last on my list because I've dried hay on really cold days. There's been days where I was tedding in short sleeves and I was cold, but guess what? There was sunshine and that hay still dries down awesome, even if the temperatures are cold. So there you have it. Those are the four things in my order, in my opinion. Again, I'm not stating this as fact. It's just what I've found works for me. In my experience, I've seen it over and over again, year over year. You need sunshine, most importantly. You need low humidity, second most importantly. You need that wind, that's kind of a bonus feature, but even if you don't have wind, it'll still dry out pretty good. Wind just accelerates it. The least most important thing is heat. However, if you get the jackpot and you get sunshine, wind, and heat, and low humidity, which is most of what our growing season here is in Southwest Michigan in the summer, which is glorious, by the way, then you have the jackpot. And indeed, we do get beautiful hay drying days here. It is about, it's literally the best thing you could ask for. So when I'm looking at the forecast, I look at these 4 things and I look at what they're going to do every day. Here is the next most important thing, again, my opinion, when you're looking at the forecast. I do check several different forecasts, but to see how much consistency they have. But there is one more thing that I look at more than anything else. And I start looking at the forecast very early, 10 days out. If they're calling for days of sunshine or even rain, I look at it every day. In fact, I even look at it multiple times a day, and I'm looking to see how consistent that forecast is. So for instance, if it's Sunday and they're calling for sunshine on Thursday and Friday and Saturday, that's a great sign, but I think it's probably going to change. And I'll check back and I'll check back again. If by Tuesday they're calling for rain on Thursday, and then Wednesday or Tuesday afternoon they take the rain out, and then Wednesday morning they put the rain back in, and then Wednesday afternoon they take the rain out, I'm not going to go for it, because to me that says, this is very unscientific here, because I'm not a meteorologist, but this is what it says to me. They're very unsure of what the weather is going to do that day, because they think it's going to be clear, but then there's rain that pops in and then it clears up. So that is a big risk for me. I look for the days where every day the forecast remains consistent, where it doesn't change. If Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or whatever days I said earlier, if they're calling for sunshine every single one of those days, I'm going to feel pretty confident in that appraisal of what the forecast is doing. Another question people ask is, well, what percentage of rain are you willing to mow in? And that's a good question, because I don't think there's a right answer to it. It depends on the level of risk you want to take. So when something says 30% chance of rain or something, what that actually means is that 30% of that area that is forecasted, and I don't know if that means the viewing area or the forecast area. I don't know how they define the area, but it means 30% of that area could get rain. So whether you are actually in the 30% of that area that gets the rain or not is kind of hard to say. If it's 30%, I'm fine with doing it. Once it gets up to 40%, I've seen that 40% change real fast to 50, 60, 70, and boom, you've got a rainy day. On the other hand, I've seen 40% and then nothing happens, and then you're disappointed that you didn't mow the hay. So, not a good answer. That's just my own take on yours. If you've got a different take on this and you feel that you've got a pretty good weather strategy for how you decide when to mow, then please post that in the comments below. There can probably be some good discussion about this. Another thing that's a very important consideration for drying hay is, what does your ground moisture look like? So if you just got a big rain the day before and it was pretty substantial, like let's say an inch or more, you probably don't want to mow that very next day. Give it a day for the ground to dry out, let that moisture soak in there. To the same, if you have a light chance of rain on that first day you're going to mow, and you really need to get the hay down, and your window over the next 2 days is going to be real hot and sunny, I personally have no problem with taking that risk and mowing on the first day if it might get a little bit of rain, as long as it's like a 1/4 inch or less. Because rain on the first 24 hours of mowed hay really is not that detrimental. It does not become an issue until the cuticle on the hay has dried up enough or dried off enough that that's when you start to get the leaching of the nutrients. Well, I think that's all I've got for today. So I'm going to sign off. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.